Hey guys, this is John with the Alpha Channel update for Tuesday, July 9th, 2024. And today, instead of going with Conan 245, which is the sequel to the last one, 244, obviously, in this one, Conan and Red Sonja found themselves face to face with a vampire who hadn't had any foreshadowing in the story whatsoever. So what I'm going to do today, because those are the higher end Conans and I didn't have so many of the first 100, I got these 20 books, except for this one, in the mail yesterday from eBay. These are all readers and they're in the early hundreds, well the mid hundreds. The first one is 63 and they end up at like 70. So what we're going to do today is jump back in time a little bit. And this was the episode where Amra had kidnapped Belit from Conan, and Conan went looking for her with a Kushite, former Kushite queen, a black woman who had been Amra's lover before. And that's where this episode starts. This issue is Roy Thomas, John Buscema, and so it's Roy Thomas, John Buscema, Steve Gann is the embellisher, and Michael Wolfman is the colorist. And so this is when Conan catches up with Amra. And this issue, 63, is perfect in every important way. There's some problems with it, and I'll get into those, but this is a lot better than the mid 200s because of how it starts. Check out this splash page. You can see the lion sort of habitat in the distance. The black girl's telling Conan, and Conan is in the foreground with some tribal warriors, and they are going to look for Amra and Belit. The colors are a little bit faded. This is like almost a 45-year-old, older than 45 year. I think this is 76, June of 76, so this is almost 50-year-old comic. The colors are pretty faded. I feel like this one got read a lot. But what's awesome about this scene, okay, so this is a lead-in. Every comic, it's good to just grab a comic out of the stack and read it because so it's one thing to start in heavy action and then break out of it and tell what's going on. This is good the other way. This starts in anticipation of action. They're right outside the lion city that they're going to sneak into and try and steal Belit back from. Whereas the last one started off with Conan and Red Sonja out in some desolate wasteland that had these heat geysers, which was action for no reason. It's easy to make characters look like they're moving. They don't always have to be fighting. Conan can be walking, he can be standing, he can be raising an arm. Characters don't always have to be running and jumping and fighting. That's fun, but it's not always necessary. This is an awesome panel right here, where they see Amra and Belit climbing the stairs to the ritual lion altar where that giant lion statue is. And then over here, they catch up with them, and Amra and Belit are sort of having a bit of a fight. Conan doesn't catch up with them, but we catch up with them. And Shulo is the great black lion. He's watching all this is going on, and Belit is telling Amra she's not going to have anything to do with him. Now, Amra is interesting because they had a big opportunity to write a very sort of Tarzan, sort of noble character, but they didn't. What he is he's a highly educated, very verbal savage. Like he comes across like a drug addict, like a crack fiend or a heroin addict looking for a fix. He doesn't come across as like the noble leader of lions, and it's because of the dialogue. They could have had him speak in, simple, laconic sort of ways where it's just really short, brief sentences, but they didn't. They gave him these long, drawn-out dialogues that are really kind of unnecessary. So you have to back up. This is awesome. This is the obligatory one-panel flashback. Isn't that cool? It's like these demons chasing her. So what she's doing in this scene, this is important, because I was complaining in the last issue that they were having things happen that they could have foreshadowed, that they could have told us about ahead of time. And here we have something coming up in the story that they have told us about ahead of time. And it's really, really, really well done. It's just a one-panel flashback where this black girl explains that she's let loose these hordes of savages underneath the lion temple, and that they are going to be breaking loose really soon. And so that's now you're going to get the third villain in this book, like a golem, but instead of Amra and the lions being a second and third villain, or the first and second villains, the third villain we get, I meant to say third major character, as opposed to the hero, the protagonist, the antagonist, then this third villain. Then you have the romance A and B, Belit and the other black girl. But what we are going to get is these four-armed, six-limbed demons coming up out of the ground pretty soon. And here is another strange thing. So Amra murders one of his lions, who smells blood leaking from Belit's wrist where she's tried to free herself. And I thought her trying to free herself was another one of these foreshadowing things. But instead this lion smells it and it tries to attack her. And Amra has to murder this lion. He doesn't just, force it to back down. He has to kill it. Which I guess, So now Conan shows up. Conan fights a guardian lion and kills it with his sword. While the black girl watches on and says, oh, maybe he could do this. Maybe he is enough. Maybe he will get me my revenge. Meanwhile, the demons have showed up where Amra and Belit are. And they are attacking them. So we have two sets of, Conan and his crew are coming in, facing down lions on the way. Amra was going to try and rape Belit, but these demons interrupted him. Conan can't get there fast enough, so these demons had to interrupt him. And then Belit falls through this hole in the ground. Actually, Belit falls through the hole in the ground first, and then the demons come out of it. So she apparently, I guess, was sitting on that tile that they removed. And then so he spent some time fighting them. And we should presume that Belit has been ripped to pieces. If these were zombie demons, that's what would have happened. If this was an R-rated film, Belit would be dead, right? Because you can't ask for that level of suspension of disbelief in a film. It just doesn't work. Everything's too immediate. So here we have Conan and his crew who have gone down into the catacombs, the sort of dungeons where the monsters are. And they are fighting them now. Meanwhile, Conan is noticing how messed up the dungeons are, that this guy Amra chains people, lets them starve to death or get eaten by whatever demons. And then he has a flashback down here at the bottom, just one panel, where he says he's dealt with all kinds of monsters and he can handle this. He's not afraid. He's going to go after Belit. And here he finds her at the same time Amra finds her. She's surrounded by the four-armed demons, and Amra and Conan start to dispatch them. And they end up fighting back to back, while Belit, I think down here, frees herself from her bonds, takes up a shard of stone, and also starts killing demons. So here we have Amra, Belit, and Conan fighting off the demons until they reduce their numbers to the point that they flee. That the remainders flee. They don't kill all of them. Some of them retreat. And then Conan and Amra have a brief conversation where Amra asserts his right to Belit as he kidnapped her, and he is not having any negotiations with Conan. Conan seems much more calm and, what's the right word? Composed. Whereas Amra is, skipping some pages here. Amra is just a complete aggressive, he's like a drug addict. He behaves like a drug addict. It's the only way to describe him. So they have a fight where they end up, Conan agrees to fight him with knives and not use a sword. He'll fight him with a knife. And they get into this situation just like the cover, which is actually kind of cool. You see how they're each holding each other's wrist? Now the demons are all gone, but we still get this fight where they've got a knife in each other's wrists, right? And they're trying. Eventually, Amra unfoots, that's not a word. Eventually, Amra crashes them to the ground, and now they're wrestling on the ground with knives. Skip a couple pages here. And something happens, and we see that Conan emerges victorious. So Now, almost immediately, this is interesting because we have to keep the story moving, and Belit and the other blacks, the Black Queen got killed by the demons, and Amr said he didn't care. Conan and the other blacks and Belit are now have to escape because the castle, the ruins, these lion ruins, immediately start falling apart around them. And Roy Thomas did include a great line that it must have been the people below, the dwellers in the dark, the four-armed demons who pulled the supports down. And then we get one last scene in the wilderness where Conan encounters the lion who submits to him and growls, and they say that, oh, he's recognized you as the leader of the pack now. So this is better in terms of literature and plot devices. This is a better execution on so many levels than the last few issues. My only complaint is Amra's characterization. They didn't make him, they could have made him more Tarzan, but it would have been harder to finish the fight between Conan and Amra. They could have let it go on for a couple issues, but then they would have this issue with Belit. So I do think there was a way they could have written his character and had everything happen the same and just changed the dialogue balloons, and it would have been a lot more satisfying. But whatever, it's a comic book, so it is what it is. Wildwood Tarot for today, Hearn, the Horned God, and we have the Hooded Man on the book. Just want to make sure that I got this up in front of the camera in case this is anyone's first day here. I love this Wildwood Tarot deck for the art. Magic the Gathering cards are awesome too, but they're a little expensive and the art's really, really small. I prefer to look at those online. I thought these were going to be bigger cards. I bought this deck hoping they were going to be the size of a box. They are not. But this is the Guardian. It looks like a Minotaur skeleton. It looks like it may be some sort of moose or horse or animal head on top of a human body. It's pretty cool. It's very Dungeons and Dragons. It's very Conan-esque. Yeah, so what else do I want to talk about? The drama going on. I don't know how much longer I'm going to be able to keep doing this. This is my story. This is the reason I'm out here. Legacy of a Mad Scientist and the Legend of Ashley Fox. This is essentially what... There's a couple different concepts for this story. It's one, what if Aeon Flux... This is what if Aeon Flux's childhood... What if Aeon Flux's childhood were written by me in the future of Los Angeles? And it is also what if Conan's character were embodied in aggressive, never step back from a fight Conan. That's her story. That's her. Ashley Fox is a ninja, and she's basically gets attacked by the government, and that's where she cuts her teeth against the bad guys that are the futuristic government of these here United States. And so, yeah, that's why I'm doing this, but what do I want to talk about today? So the nobility of character in Amra simply wasn't present, and they really could have done that because he's an allegory for Tarzan, and Tarzan's the best thing to ever come out of Africa, obviously. We are, I believe, already knee-deep in a race war, and when they write the history of these years, it's going to be a 100-year race war. And it's going to end up in feudalization in Europe and the States. We're going to have city-states again, I believe, and we are going to have enforced segregation on both sides. And it's going to be awesome. I saw a meme the other day that said if you gave blacks a button to undo slavery, but they'd all have to go back to Africa, would they push it? We all know that answer is no. They're very happy being victims here and assaulting us whenever they like. White men don't rape black girls. Black men rape and murder white women all the time. White men aren't out there killing black dudes like in the KKK, though maybe we need to get back to that because black dudes are certainly out there killing white people and black people whenever they want. 7 years is all you get for murder? No, it should be life in prison. If you murder someone, you should go to prison for life. 20 years for homicide, for accidental homicide. If you kill someone with your car because you were drunk, 20 years. And I have no sympathy for any of these people. They're savages. We don't need to live with them. They're uncivilized. I've said it before. Speaking English for a non-white should be a capital crime. And I do believe that. I'll double down on that every day. So Patriot Front is not feds. I was in Patriot Front. Here's my face. I don't wear a mask. A lot of those guys wear masks because they believe a lot more ruthless shit than Thomas Rousseau, who's the leader of that group. Thomas Rousseau is what he's done is he's able to build these people behind him, and he's the only person who has to answer for what they believe. A lot of them believe a lot of the things I believe, that we should be out murdering all of you right now. I'm all for it. If a race war started today, I'd be so happy. Because you're uncivilized and you have no right to live here. So that's where I'm at. I'm the most toxic person I know. We are in a race war, not a civil war. And the white guys, the anti-white white guys, the race traitors, there's so many of you. There's so many of you. You're not going to get a pass. That's all I've got to say. I'm waiting for YouTube to shut me down. It's going to be any day now. See you guys.